a favourite on every rural road. Hyundai Country Calendar.
Come on, big boys, push, 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 push. Farming's my life, but it's tough.
Get -20 up here in the winter time. We love coming out here and just the wide open spaces.
I'm not a good housewife. I'd far rather be out in the land.
John and Susie have added a distillery to their sheep and beef farm.
Always had a little bit of a fascination with whisky making.
I always have drunk gin, so it's a passion of mine.
We're just taking out a sample of 3-year-old whisky, single malt. See how it's maturing. Looking good.
John Elliott distills whisky. And his wife Susie makes gin on their Otago Hill Country farm, Lammermoor Station. Their distillery is just 4 years old.
Sheep and beef have been reasonably good to us over the years, but it's always good to diversify and move into a new industry. So we've thought about different things, and well, we've got all this on our doorstep. Grow good barley, beautiful crystal clean water, and just ferment it and make some whisky. How's all that looking?
This is this new one.
Okay.
Playing.
While John is upbeat about farming, Susie's more down to earth.
Oh, it's pretty tough. It's very tough to be a farmer in New Zealand. You know, we can love the land, love the stock, everything, but our markets are very, very hard. You know, we've had to make changes to survive.
But Susie still loves the farming life.
Our boys are keen, our daughter's keen. It's in the blood. It's in the blood. It's like the river flows down the river. The blood is what makes a farmer.
Lammermoor Station is big, 5,200 hectares of mainly hill country south of Ranfurly in the Maniatoto. The Elliots mix cropping with sheep and beef. Today their son Duncan is helping John with the cattle.
See a few cattle just down here in this block, so we'll hook them down, put them in the bottom of Barry's block, and then take everything through to the fishing hut.
Yeah. No,
And I'll just sweep round the boundary and just check that side.
Yeah, so they got up a block, so.
Yeah, that should be all good.
Yeah.
Right, Ed, I'll see you along there. Predominantly they stay out here all year round, the Angus cows, forage around these back flats and up in the tussock country. About 220 breeding cows and 80 odd heifers put in every year. They just forage around here basically all winter and look after themselves. This country here complements cattle and sheep. The cattle will open up those heavier tussock areas, and the sheep more graze the lighter areas and the ridges. Now the cattle are good foragers, particularly the Angus and the Angus Hereford are really good foragers and open up the country.
The Maniatoto has extremes of temperature, and it's also one of the driest places in the country.
Climate up here is fairly severe. Could get -20 up here in the winter time, maybe 2 or 3 feet of snow or a bit over half a metre. However, the cattle are pretty acclimatised to it. Too dangerous for sheep out here, but cattle can forage around and find a bit of shelter and what have you. So no, it is fairly cold out here, and I've seen the lake there over a foot of ice frozen in the winter time. Yeah, we don't venture out here too much in the winter time, more by maybe helicopter if we have to come and check on the stock. We love coming out here and doing a bit of fencing, shifting stock around, just the wide open spaces and fairly vast and not too many people, so it's very, very pleasant.
John and Susie have helped to weigh their young bulls. Daughter Brooke, son-in-law Scotty, and grandson Wade.
Come on, big boys, push, 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 push. The grandkids, they're learning, but they're a big part of it. It's all about family, isn't it? And, you know, farmers, it's very hard to have that generational thing, especially now with the land of, you know, price of land being up there.
Lammermoor has been in John's family for nearly a century.
Well, it goes back to 1928, but we've bought a few blocks over the recent decades and just added to it.
Taking over the family farm meant John and Susie had to take out a large mortgage to pay off the rest of the family.
Well, there's a bit of pressure, but thankfully
That's
right
what
at
you
the
get
moment.
up for in the morning.
Yeah, Interest rates are a bit lower at the moment, but it's just one of those things. Land's a good investment. No, it's all part of farming.
Well, they say, farming's they either have fast racehorses, fast women, or have a farm. Which one spends it faster? A farm.
So
Debt goes hand in hand with farming, and not a lot of people realise how much debt farmers have to carry. Asset rich and cash poor.
Cash poor.
Susie and John have had a lifetime of helping each other through the highs and lows.
They're packing it on, aren't they?
650.
Yeah, we've been a team for a very long time, 35 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next couple of weeks, hopefully.
It goes hand in hand, really. Like when the kids were wee, I was probably a good housewife then. I'm not a good housewife now. I'd far rather be out in the land.
Both the Elliott boys, Lachlan and Duncan, work on the station. Today, Lockie and his father are moving sheep from the valley flats to the hill country.
The sheep have got to be reasonably tough to survive this climate. We have half-bred sheep. We were running merino wethers, but predominantly half-breds now up in this country. The half-bred's a little bit more diverse, a bit more of a split income with the meat and the wool. The merinos were a little bit too one-tracked with the wool was very good. However, the lambing percentage wasn't as good. The half-bred's a bit more of a dual-purpose sheep. So we've got good lambs, good lambing percentage and wool that we're pretty pleased with.
Our merino wool was world class. It was super white, bright, had great strength, and was a true Saxon merino. It was fabulous product.
But merino lambs aren't as hardy as half-bred lambs.
So now we're back into half-breds, which is a merino Romney cross, and it's still white, bright wool, and they're born, they want to survive. Merinos are born and they are a degree warmer than your ordinary lamb, which is quite a lot. And when you have our climate, we can try and lamb in the spring, you can guarantee a storm will come. Half-bred lambs are born with a licence, they want to live. They get up and they run. So you've got the wool, and with them they can do meat as well, so they're a fantastic unit.
These days, the spirit of Lammermoor is in the distillery. John and Susie Elliott's Lammermoor station in central Otago is registered organic. They wanted a premium for the organic wool they grow, so they went looking for a new market.
We sell a lot of wool, we market it ourselves. About eight or 10 years ago, I went over to New York and did a Vogue knitting symposium.
The symposiums were designed to teach Americans how to knit. They were hugely popular, with 40,000 people through the doors a day.
Hand knitting in the States and in Europe is absolutely massive. It's only just hitting New Zealand. Americans will knit anything. They knit muskox, which is 9 times warmer than merino. They knit Romney fleece, which I wouldn't wear against my skin, but the Americans do. It was amazing. They knit camel, dog hair, you name it, they knit it. It was mind-blowing to see.
Susie came home determined to find a way into the domestic knitting market.
These are marketed under our name, Lammermoor Organic. The public will buy these in Spotlight. Everything about this product is grown in New Zealand, made in New Zealand, and we're bloody proud of it.
John Elliott is a qualified wool classer.
Handling wool for probably over 50 years now. My father was also a wool classer, and my grandfather's, so wool's been in the family for a long time. First thing I do is look for the handle of the wool, how it handles, and then the style, which is the micron and the crimps.
John can quickly assess the quality of each fleece.
This is a very soft fleece, around 23 micron, 23.5 micron. Very soft, good handling fleece, great next to the skin. The tensile, the strength of the staple, just the general handling, the colour, nice and bright. This will be for outdoor apparel. Quite a lot of it's used for babies wear. Of course, it's certified organic wool. So, yeah, great for babies and next to the skin. Cropping is quite a large part of the operation, about 200 plus hectares, 500 acres of cropping, all fully certified organic. We sell 3/4 of it, use 30-tonne barley in the distillery and feed a bit of grain to our own stock. Today we're doing the last of the harvesting of the triticale on the Lammermoor before we head down to our Waipiata farm and start the barley down there.
John grows two sorts of grain, barley for his distillery and triticale, which is used mainly for stock food.
Triticale is a wheat rye corn cross, higher protein than barley and very good for dairy food, chickens, stock food in general, so no, it goes really good.
In line with their organic status, John grows a special variety of barley.
The barley is meant to be a very healthy type of barley, the Laureate it's called, newly imported to New Zealand just a few years ago. So no, that's yielding very well, particularly through the distillery. We're getting really good yields off it for alcohol.
The Elliots built their distillery themselves from timber grown on the station. John says whiskey's been distilled illegally on Lammermoor since 1863.
It was distilled back in the gold mining era, and my grandfather found a pot still out in the hill, mustering during a snowstorm. So we thought, well, 2016, we'll pick up the ball and run with it and go again. So here we are today, coming up 5 years later, distilling whiskey and gin. It's quite a full-on job, very early starts in the morning, late nights, getting it all set up. We don't have to be here 24/7, but often when we do a spirit run, we're here most of the time.
John has collected his whiskey-making kit from all over. He malts his grain in a Valero drum that was designed to pelt hides.
Today we're using it for steeping barley. We put in about a tonne of grain in there, some warm water, germinate the grain. When it germinates, it produces starch, and that starch we use for single malt whiskey. So this machine we use for a dryer, originally made about 1905 in Bristol and London, was used in the Bell Tea Factory in Dunedin. It was actually a tea mixer, but today we use it for a dryer and a smoker.
Most of the flavour of whiskey comes from smoking the grain, now called green malt. John uses peat and sawdust from locally grown wood to smoke or kiln the barley.
Well, we kiln it with peat off the property and a little bit of manuka smoke from the other corner of the Maniatoto. We're also going to use some pahutakawa and maybe a bit of matagari that grows wild on the hill here. Traditionally in Scotland, we use peat for drying the grain. So that will flavour the grain, that will flavour the whiskey.
Once the grain is soaked in water, the liquid's drawn off and yeast is added.
Crush the barley, put hot water through the draft, absorb the sugars out of the barley, and here we've got the wort, W-O-R-T, it's wort, and from here we add the yeast and the fermentation starts.
Whiskey has just 3 ingredients: water, barley and yeast.
Very similar to beer. From beer we brew it, for whiskey we'll distill it.
The heart of every distillery is the copper still.
The alcohol rises up the neck, down the line arm, condenses back in alcohol, and we capture the heart of the run, the middle cut, which we're doing at the moment at 63%.
All the real magic happens in the barrel.
So it goes in as new make, or claret is the Scottish term, crystal clear, and over 3 years it absorbs those colours and aromas and flavours and the charring from the oak barrel, and it becomes whiskey colour as we know it. Well, the barrel really does all the work for us. It's quite subjective, but 80% of everything happens to whiskey happens in a barrel. So we do all the flavours and the distillation and the copper still, but the barrel will dictate the final flavour.
The Scots are very particular about what can be called whiskey.
New Zealand is fairly relaxed on the laws for whiskey. Most of the world is 2 years. In Scotland it's 3 years. So just out of etiquette at Lammermoor, we mature our whiskey for a minimum of 3 years, even before we look at it really.
Just wait.
Susie's pigs are also pleased the Elliots have started making whiskey. The spent grain from John Elliott's Lammermoor Distillery in the Maniatortal is not thrown away. His wife Susie's found a use for it.
Nothing gets wasted. The spent barley comes out here to my pigs. They're pretty fond. Oi! They're pretty fond of it, as you can see. Calves love it, sheep love it. So everything we're doing with the distillery is getting used back on the farm. It's totally sustainable the whole way round. Just wait, kids. Pigs are my hobby. I'm a farm girl. I grew up on farms. As kids, my brother and I had sows, and it taught us about the business of raising pigs, really. So it's quite cool. This one here, I raised her as a piglet, and I'm a bit of a soft heart, as most farmers are. We love our animals, and so I raised her on an eye drop at the start, and she's still here, and she'll always still be here. So she'll probably never make sausages.
Susie is the gin maker, and today she's getting ready to welcome a group of visitors to the distillery.
I make a gin that I like. It's not a huge buffy gin on the nose. It's not massive with juniper. I like a gin that's more subtle. It's female. I make a range of gins, and let's face it, I'm a female and we have lots of different moods.
Susie wanted a label that would stand out.
The idea is you look through the label and there's a lady on the back. If you like gin, she looks quite good. If you don't like gin, she's not bad. And it's just a bit of fun.
What gives different gins their individual flavour are known as botanicals.
Botanicals are like baking a cake. You use different things to bake a sponge or a chocolate cake. And when you're doing a gin, you've got to be over so many percentage of juniper. And then it's whatever other botanicals that you want to make it. There's some that you have to have that will hold the juniper flavours in.
Susie has experimented with things like cardamom, cinnamon and cassia.
A botanical, it can be a piece of willow tree, it could be a piece of a rose. It's what you want it to be, and if you can get the flavour out of it when you're distilling it, or the oils, that's where you go.
Susie's range of gins include a sloe gin.
Sloes are a berry, like an English bramble, blackthorn. They have lots of them in England. It's about the only thing they didn't bring from England in prolific amounts. You know, we have gorse, rats and rabbits and all sorts of other crap, but they should have bought a lot of sloe and they didn't. It's beautiful in a gin. It changes a gin. It's an acquired, it's a mature taste. That's how I look at it. This one here is our blue, and you can see, I call it our optical illusion.
When the tonic is added, the colour changes.
Come on in, folks.
Lammermoor Station may be a long way from anywhere, but the distillery has brought a flood of visitors.
Very good. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Lammermoor Distillery. Distilled illegally since 1863. So it was distilled illegally back in the gold mining era, down in the dark side of a gully.
Susie loves their new social life.
That's gin. So have a taste on the rocks.
Oh, okay.
And then get the mix that you would like to mix it with.
Is that all right? Beautiful.
It's a breath of fresh air. We used to see the banker, the stock trucks, the old farm agent, and that would be about it. Now we have people from all walks of life, and they come to see us in our distillery. It's amazing.
Away from the distillery, there's still farm work to be done.
Today we've got a little bit of rank tucker here, so we've just mowed that last week and cleaned up a bit of hay today, a bit of roughage for the cattle whilst they're on their crops during the winter time.
In recent years, the climate of the Maniatortal has changed.
Fairly harsh winters, cold, dry winters in general. Used to get only snow, now it actually rains in the winter time. Not so much ice as what we used to get. We used to get 8 to 10, 12 inches of ice. Now we basically only get a few inches a year. However, you never know what's around the corner. We always hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
The severity of Maniatortal winters means that feeding out is a big job at Lammermoor.
A lot of feeding out, 120 days. hundreds and hundreds, probably 1,000 plus bales of hay, similar to baleage, and about 1,000 tonne of silage, plus a few hundred tonne of grain to the sheep. Long summer making it and a long winter feeding it out, but it's just got to be done.
Being organic, the Elliots have to be choosy about what they put back on their land. John has an arrangement with a local organic chicken farm.
We sell the grain to the chicken farmers, and in return we get free-range chicken manure and put it back in the paddocks. Great stuff. All part of being organic. Grows very good grain, mixed them with a little bit of lime. It's our main fertiliser.
Diversification is always at the back of John's mind. Just 2 weeks ago, he took possession of a new farm down the road from Lammermoor.
It's a deer fence property, so we'll run a few deer. At the moment, venison prices are fairly depressed, fairly low, quite a good time to buy. And the property's all set up for deer farming.
As the Elliots get older, they're thinking about the future.
A couple of sons and a daughter all keen on farming, just a bit more land to maybe share amongst the children when it comes succession time.
John likes to tickle the ivories, and Susie likes to listen. They reckon they have much to celebrate.
Very enjoyable. Still a few years to go yet farming, but no, very enjoyable.
Farming's hard work, it's bloody hard work, but hey, I've got gin and bear it now. I'm a farmer, I've got to grin and bear it.
A lot of diversification, a lot of friendly people, but great. Looking forward to the next 10 years.
Country Calendar was brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.